Street Fighter 6 is coming. We can't predict the future, but Capcom is cooking up something special. A lot of new players will come to the scene, and my goal in this video and in all of my content is for players from all walks of life to become the best player they can be. I want to teach you all two core principles that have existed since the dawn of competitive Street Fighter, and has carried throughout the lifespan of players like Daigo Umehara.
Oh! Uppercut! Uppercut, and Daigo Umehara is your Evolution 2010 champion. Wow.
Who is currently 41 years old and is still one of the best Street Fighter players on the planet. Those rules are patience and punishment. Both are needed to becoming a fundamentally sound player. If you only know how to punish your opponent, their patience will get the better of you. If you only know patience, your opponent will have no respect for you and you will be crushed. First, we start with patience, since it's the building block to access punishment. Street Fighter and boxing work hand in hand with these rules. If you have ever seen a boxing match, skilled boxers don't swing recklessly, not just because they want to avoid getting knocked out, but to see how they can use their skills to get the victory. There's a lot of safety in the first few rounds of boxing. Not to say someone doesn't get destroyed in the first round ever. If the opportunity presents itself, a skilled boxer will get the knockout. But in these first rounds, questions are asked. What are they looking for me to throw? What are they not paying attention to? Are they getting frustrated? Am I being too predictable? There's a lot of mental gymnastics that go on throughout a boxing match, but also in high-level Street Fighter. Walk-ups, walk-backs, testing your opponent through fireballs or far-reaching normal attacks. Then the match gets a little more greedy. Jumping in, taking space aggressively, applying offense when the opponent isn't ready for something like a throw or a mix-up tool. You can see this play in every single Street Fighter game. It's a skill that takes time to develop, but it only gets stronger with experience. Very few Street Fighter players remain at the top from game to game, but developing patience and building a mental checklist throughout the match of their opponent's behavior can be the difference between legend or flop. Some one-on-one checklist ideas could be: how frequently do they stop me from jumping in? And how good or bad is the punishment? Do they slip through my fireballs frequently? Or do they go unchallenged? You keep these notes handy in order to abuse the opponent in a match, like getting hit by the same thing over and over again, or wait for the perfect time to strike. For example, if you know your opponent at this specific situation throws a fireball, take that knowledge and go for the best punish you can to either swing the round in your favor or just win it outright. Obviously, Street Fighter is a two-player game. If your opponent is good, they will be looking for things and also have awareness to switch up their style to scramble the list you have made about their habits. This can lead to player 1 getting an early lead, but player 2 catching up and winning the match, leaving player 1 confused on why things stopped working later in the match. With skilled opponents, there's a constant state of gathering info, testing it, punishing your opponent, and repeat. The situations get more and more nuanced as your skill increases, but this idea of patience can be applied to every single level of Street Fighter. A back and forth between patience and punishment as the matches go on. If you want to be a great Street Fighter 6 player, or in any fighting game, this is your base to excellent play. Next up is punishment. This is the hard work paying off, your reward for studying the opposition. Everybody loves a good punish. It's fun, can be flashy, and can get you on high fights sometimes. Punishment is also the physical aspect in Street Fighter, over the patience being the mental. This is where all that time spent practicing combos get puts on display. Like I mentioned in the beginning, just having patience won't be enough to beat strong players, or even just aggressively bad players, because at the end of the day, you want to beat the opponent with the least amount of hits needed, or at least setting yourself up to do so later on in the match. Here's a basic example. Would I rather punish with this or this? Of course, the latter is better, damage is greater, but the execution is harder. You want to, of course, strive for the best punish possible, but the best isn't just damage, because Street Fighter always has resources you need to manage, and this is very particular in the case of Street Fighter 6. If you always go for the max amount of damage, but burn all your resources, it can hurt you later on in the rounds. Remember when I mentioned wait for the perfect time to strike? Sometimes you need to hold on to those resources in order to win a round later in the match. But to get back on topic, your best punish can be damage, or can be to get more stage presence, gain more resources, setting up for strong offense, etc. So how do you learn good punishment? At the beginning of every Street Fighter game, everyone starts at 0. You don't know what good damage, meter gain, etc. looks like. There's two methods, one being trial and error. When you play a match, pay attention or look back at what moves and scenarios that gave you the most trouble. Take it to training mode and see if you can create strong combos for when that situation happens again, you'll be ready for it. The second method is through research, usually finding answers from resources like Twitter, YouTube, Street Fighter Discords. You ultimately have to use both. Sometimes the situation is too specific and no one has shared the answer, or you might have the best answer. But also, a kind soul that plays your character can make a guide showing off the best combos and punishes if you're lucky enough. It can also depend when you're watching this video. If you see this before Street Fighter 6 is released, the best punishes aren't even available yet. But if you see this video 2 years from now, first off, thanks for even watching, and plenty of resources have been made by now for your characters in Street Fighter 6. But the basic formula still stands. Whenever you run into a problem, discover how to punish through resources or testing things out in training mode. The discovery period is very fun and rewarding in every fighting game. This is why losing, especially when you're new to fighting games, can be very valuable. If you win every match you play, the potential of missing out on crucial information is very high. So take advantage of your mistakes and grow one punish at a time. Now that you understand these two rules, keep in mind, even someone like Daigo hasn't mastered them and never will. You will build out these skills to your very last Street Fighter match. But that's what makes
fighting game is something so great.
They are limitless. And when a fighting game is constructed well, you'll hang on to those moments of triumph forever.